Hello, welcome to my art stream.
Oh god, this is already off to a good start. I am Krispy and I'm gonna be doing some doodling today. Are we live?
We're live, but I'm not getting any volume from your end. Check your microphone.
Oh god, not this shit again. Better? Better or no?
That's a nah, my dude.
Hold on. I had this problem the other day with my mic. I think it's picking up from the wrong one. 1 second.
Okay, there we're getting mic sound now.
Oh, it's actually coming through? Okay. Is it do we need me to fiddle with it more or is it good?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay,
and Tiger
cool.
was sweet enough to change it to art stream for us.
Oh, that's great.
Yay!
Yes.
Hello,
And actually,
Littleman.
Hello.
we are here to do art things. It is Krispy Krause.
And I am the stormiest of songs.
And
We
I
are
actually
here.
had... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying we were here to reinvoke and reinforce Prima Nocta, but only if you really want to.
I forget what that is.
Watch Braveheart.
Oh, I just remember the part where they're all mooning the English and then they get shot in the ass with arrows.
Oh, yeah, no. Prima Nocta is the probably likely fictitious concept that Lord could bless a marriage by taking the bride into his...
Oh, that.
That. Yeah. It was probably propaganda, in truth, but it was still...
Yeah.
You know. History is full of bad things, so it also wouldn't be surprising if it was real.
History's full of bad things. I can't believe it.
Yes.
Anyway, I actually have a goal of something to work on today rather than just doing random doodles. I'm going to be working on a page for my comic.
Yay!
And I'm going to do the line art for it because I don't feel like adding more detail to it, and I want to be done. That's the fun part you hit with projects. You go from like, I really love this project and to spend as much time as possible on it to, I just want to be done. Please God.
Yes. This makes sense.
I had a lot of that in college with projects. There were some that were a lot of fun, but then there were others where I'm just like, I hate this. I want to not be doing this anymore. So the comic I am working on is called It Came From the Lab. It is actually a printed comic, believe it or not, that I did with a friend of mine. And it is about a B team of superheroes that has to fight a giant bug monster. And this is the last part of the comic itself. And I'm already starting out by using the line tool because it's easier. I'm not one for realism as it is.
Yes. Well, as you said, the goal is more to convey the idea, not...
Oh yeah, that's more of how I see drawing with art, you know. Obviously, you know, it helps to have reference and things, but at a certain point it's just like, you just gotta take things your own direction. I mean, I think you get a really good example of that with, like, I mentioned Genndy Tartakovsky, I think, last week, but his art style, especially when it comes to, like, things like Samurai Jack, you know, that was a lot of minimalism in the art style, but it told a lot, you know. The new show of his that's come out, I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen clips of it, and it's very beautifully animated, but it has a fair amount more detail to it, I think, compared to previous shows, at least in some scenes.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm always so shit at drawing. Oh, there we go. When it comes to, like, long lines, I'm always so shaky with that shit. Probably more so with, like, traditional means versus a tablet, because at least with a tablet you can hit Control-Z, and if you're using certain kinds of pens, you don't have to worry about or pens versus stylus, you don't have to worry about the pens like leaking or something.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with like tech pens, like radiograph pens, at all?
A little bit, like not. I don't know differences.
But you know the general concept of it, right? It's like a refillable, like technical pen used for really precise liner and things. I have a set of those that I got from a friend of mine, but I actually had to use them for my one class in college, and you got to be real careful when you're using those, because if you push too hard, you will absolutely snap the tip of the pen you're using. That happened to me at least once, and they're not cheap pens. It's like I think $20 for one of them.
Yeah, so it's like if you were doing a what do you call it? It's like if a mechanical pencil was expensive.
I guess you could say it like that. Yeah. It's got a like ink reservoir that you have to fill, which can also get very messy. Especially once you first fill it, you got to like shake the pen before you start using it. Sometimes, otherwise you'll get like splatter on the page.
Yeah. Which
generally isn't what you want. I like those pens, but it's just like I like doing digital because it's faster, and also because I don't have to worry about absolutely ruining a drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Oh, when you turn on a tool you didn't use for a week and you forgot where you had it set, and so I like open up my eraser and it's bigger than my screen at the moment.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that when that happens. Yeah, you just like tap it once to see where it's at, and all of a sudden like half your page just disappears like Thanos snapped his finger.
Yeet!
Just like
God.
Oh shit. At least there's the control button you can deal with. So.
That is one thing that is really nice about digital art, is the ability to go back and change things.
Yeah. At the same time, though,
I really do think that people. Oh yeah, I really do think people should always start on like actual paper.
Oh, absolutely.
To learn how, because I think it helps a lot with like learning to be concise with your movements and choices and such.
Absolutely, like hand-eye coordination, or I mean, not even just necessarily outside of like technique and movement and everything, but just I like starting with sketchbook because it's something that just feels more natural. It's just like, I don't know, it's kind of therapeutic in a sense, just to have like a physical drawing, and also if you do like the kind of stuff where I do tons of thumbnail sketches before I actually go to the computer, it'll help you figure things out more before you start with it. Because I can't tell you the amount of times where I've gone to start something and I just like halfway through I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing because I didn't really plan things out first.
Yeah.
I'm also weird in the sense that I sketch with a pen versus a pencil half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just use like a ballpoint pen a lot, but it works really well for me. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, art is not a science, even though it is a science.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think I can really show the one picture I sketched on stream right now, but I was sketching some spaceships last week, and it's just with pen, and just I don't know, they just turned out really nice. Just fun little sketches I did. Pen kind of takes away from the fear of messing up because it's like. Well, it's pen, just
once it's done,
just be rough with it. Exactly, and also the big reason I use it is it won't smudge like pencils.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whenever I use pencil, I end up like after the end of the sketch, spraying the sketch down with hairspray.
Oh, that's a technique too. Yeah.
Then it seals the.
Yeah.
It seals the pencil lead in place.
Oh yeah, I do that with my pencil drawings too. If I get them detailed enough, I want to save them, But for a lot of the stuff that I do where it just starts out as a rough idea, I tend to use pen just because. Also, I'll draw a lot on the go with like a sketchbook in my backpack or something, and I know that's something that will probably smudge to hell if I don't do something about it. So But I do actually use a lot of the sprays and stuff. I use like more of like a matte top coat from, oh god, I think it's Krylon or something. But actually, that's also what I top coat my minis with, which is funny. But yeah, it's like a matte coating that does a really good job of protecting the drawing. It's just, you want to spray that stuff outdoors, otherwise you're going to start seeing things.
Woohoo!
I don't think it was that. Oh no, it was. I was priming minis the other day, like a couple weeks ago, and I was just like trying to get all the details, and there was so much primer, and by the end of it, I was just like, I need to sit down. I feel not well.
Ah, hey, Pistol. Pistol says hi. He's working and lurking.
Hello. Doing some comic work. Hope work is going well and you haven't been driven too crazy, although it is Friday, so that helps.
Yeah.
I think I zoom in too much when I draw, but it helps with the detail. It's just very jarring to see it so pixelated up close.
Mm-hmm.
I think even if I did like vector lines, it'd still be pretty pixelated too.
What you said about using the pen so that you're kind of just not afraid of messing up, because
yeah,
at some point what's done is done. It makes me think of, that's kind of almost the entire theory behind jazz music.
Oh, like playing the wrong notes on purpose or something like that?
Or you learn how to take wrong notes that you played and make them right.
Oh, interesting.
Like, one of the 3 rules of music is, or not one of the 3 rules. One of the rules of music is if you do something once, it's a mistake, twice it's strange, and 3 times it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And once something is on purpose, then it causes the audience to question what the intent is.
Yeah. Everyone gets all artsy-smartsy.
Yep.
It also reminds me of Iggy Pop, when he first was like starting the Stooges. They were like in more experimental shit, and one of the things they did was the Austerizer, where they stuck a microphone in a blender. Just like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff is, once you really get into music, like, unless your thing is pop, you will find yourself experiment. Well, and even pop experiments a lot. Like,
I would say it depends on the artist, but yes.
Well, it's just that with pop, a lot of the experimentation doesn't make it to the album like it does with some other genres. But, like, if you think about, like, the Beatles, you know, they started out as literally kind of the fathers of pop as we think of it.
Oh, God. You're
they
right.
Ended up doing, you know, shit like later Beatles, essentially.
Oh, yeah, like Sgt. Pepper's and things, just when they really started getting into the more experimental ways of doing things in more ways than one.
Yeah. This just reminded me of one of my favorite, I think it was Dan from, what's it called? From Ninja Sex Party.
Oh, yeah.
Made a crack once where somebody, or not a crack once, but like in an interview, somebody asked him, like, so what's a big piece of advice you would give to younger artists who are trying to get out there? And he's like, be careful about the drugs. Don't get into the drugs. They'll screw you up. They can be very dangerous. And another question from a follower, where do some of your ideas come from? I did a lot of great drugs in college.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that doesn't help. I will say that the first time I saw Django Unchained, it blew my mind, but I was also coming down off of acid, so. Oh, that was a great night, but that's a story for another day. I mean, a lot of my stuff, it's just like, to be honest, I honestly think having autism kind of helps a bit, just because it just the way I perceive things differently, but it really depends, you know. A lot of it I'm just like daydreaming about things or just coming up with ideas while I'm like at work or on a bike ride. Like I was riding a bike this morning, and I actually got some fun ideas of things I wanted to draw later on for my own other projects I've got going. But honestly, sometimes things will just come to me. I mean, the whole Meth Weasel thing, when I made that, I just, I mean, I was given the idea, but at the same time, I like had an idea in my head of what I wanted it to look like when I saw it. I like it, a lot of like mental visualization of things, you know, just kind of thinking about what it would look like. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you just get a sketch that something about it, you might pick it up later and be like one that you just did, not really thinking about too much about it, but you might come back to it sometime and just realize, get something out of it that you didn't see before. Which is why I also say, you know, do a lot of sketches and sketchbooks. I have so many.
I have sketchbooks dating back to being, I want to say 12 years old, and I'm 36, going on 37 now.
Nice.
Like 2/3 of my life in sketchbooks.
Yeah. I'm kind of weird in the fact that I didn't really start sketching in sketchbooks until I was like late middle school, early high school. I did a lot of drawing on paper at home because my dad would bring all this scrap paper home from work.
Actually, same here, because my pa worked for a computer company, and they would always get rid of paper after a certain point. I don't know why.
Yeah, they had these. My dad worked for Med Ed back in the day, and
okay.
Yeah, like power company, and they had these like timesheets, or these sheets that they just had so many of these like forms for something or other. I guess like people weren't using them or what, but he would just bring stacks of those home, and I would draw on the back of those.
Yeah.
You know? Before that, it was computer paper, and then they were like, let's get him some scrap paper. Computer paper's expensive.
Yeah.
Because that was like early 2000s, back when printers were a huge deal.
Oh yeah. It's amazing how many things just like become in your lifetime.
I know, right?
Like, because when I was little, you know, little DOS, like less than 8-bit looking games were, you know, new and fantastic. And then, you know, there are games that I played as a kid that when I go back as an adult, I'm like, God, how did this look so amazing when I was little? And I know part of it is elasticity and imagination and such. Part of it is being spoiled on new graphics now. But it's
I remember when Halo 3 first came out and seeing that, it blew my mind at how detailed it was. And now it's like, you look at it and you can tell it's like although I will say it does look better than some games out there, but still. But, you know, some games I can definitely see where you're coming from, where it's like you look at it and it's like, man, I thought this looked a lot better when I was younger. But some games the art style holds up. It really depends, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like I still find the style of Tiberian Sun so charming, you know, the style they did for that.
Or like a lot of Super Nintendo games, because they were kind of at the height of the 2D game at that point.
Yeah.
Super Metroid.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, there's a reason there's a whole thing of retro graphics, you know.
Yeah.
That stuff holds up generally.
It's more I'm gonna do a. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna make a shout out because my brain wanted to. Was like, also you should check out Shy Guy Express. He does Metroid hacks. They are fun.
Cool. Sounds like a fun guy.
I'm always a fan of shilling for other Twitch players if they're like, you know, down in the hundreds or thousands of followers like us, rather than the...
Yeah.
Nothing against the big guys, but the big guys, they have all the help they need.
Oh, God, yeah. Help out the people around you, you know?
But you were in the middle of saying something when I...
Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, right, graphics. Well, it's like... I see these games coming out now where they have these beautifully, or these like highly detailed graphic. I don't want to say beautifully actually, because I honestly, like it's all this high detail stuff, but it's just like, it's just so boring.
It's generic.
It's just so generic, yeah. Like the one Avengers game that came out a couple years ago. That game just looks so generic to me in terms of style. Or the newest dumpster fire, the Gollum game that just came out. Like that just looks so generic too. Oh my God! Did you hear about the DLC of that game?
Yeah, I heard about that, and I was like,
Like, are you guys? What are you smoking? Like, there's no way. Like, day one DLC, it's like, hey, you can pay $3 so Golem can say Precious. Like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I'm no longer surprised, but I'm still surprised.
It's just like, oh, this is a new low.
Yeah, like, I sort of got some of these ideas back when they first tried implementing them, like, uh, what are they called? Activision and the Total War team. Like, I love Total War games. I do not pretend like I'm not going to ever not buy them again because of this kind of stuff. You know, because I'm a corporate whore, but or I'm a consumer whore. But like at one point they started charging for, as a DLC, you would pay $5 to have blood in the game.
That is a stupid DLC.
In an M-rated war game.
That's
Now,
just what?
Now, I get a little bit of the logic, and I say a little bit because it allowed them to bypass certain censorship laws in other countries.
Okay.
But then it started a road.
Yeah. That's some scummy... that starts some really scummy stuff that we see now with this Gollum game, where it's just...
Yeah.
There's some of the DLC out there, it's just so predatory. It's ridiculous, you know. Stuff that should be in the game, they're like... Yeah. Oh, man. We're getting to a hole with this conversation. Slight side tangent while we're on the subject of DLC. I love how RimWorld, they're like advertising about this one plushie for one of the creatures in the game that they have for sale.
Yeah.
And I almost want to comment, it was like, you know, I'd rather you guys just like give more sales of your DLC so I don't have to spend $60 on it. Like, now, granted, I did buy 2 of the DLCs yesterday, but I also got some extra spending money due to commission work. Thank you, Toilet. But yeah, it's just like RimWorld's fun. Don't get me wrong, and I know that there's a lot with mods, but it's like if you're gonna have all this DLC, like at least give a sale sometimes. I've never seen that stuff on sale, even during like holiday events.
Yeah.
They rarely do sales when it comes to the RimWorld DLC. Maybe it's because of the mods? I don't know. I just think it's like... It's just kind of funny to me that they're just like promoting this plushie you can get. Meanwhile, the DLC for their game, they never put on sale. You know, it's just where are your priorities at, man?
It's smoke and mirrors. It's about the hype game. And, like, don't get me wrong, it probably works. There's probably some kind of sensible marketing data behind it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as you pointed out earlier, you know, people like you and I, in your case, autism, in my case, obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Oh, you have that too, huh?
Yeah, we're going to, you know, hyper-focus in on things and notice things other people aren't going to. Which means that, you know, certain things may work on the broader general public and not us, and we'll act like, oh, that's such a stupid thing, but then, well, it probably is actually working.
Yeah, it's like that scene in The Matrix where Keanu starts seeing the code and everything. It's kind of how it is. Not really, but I'd like to think that way because it's more fun.
Yeah. People like us are, best way I've learned how to describe it is we mid-maxed.
Yeah. I actually did have the idea to do a New Vegas playthrough where I'm a brainiac who's weak as shit with high luck, or I'm just Grog, the dummy, like full Scrombles mode, just lowest intelligence, highest luck, max strength, just start punching people to death immediately. Maybe give myself explosives because it would be funny.
Yep.
It's like, oh god, this Neanderthal's got a grenade launcher. Usually when I do New Vegas, I'm like sneaky sniper kind of build, just because I love the anti-material rifle in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with New Vegas, I tend to go, like, full cowboy about things, but that's just because, like, that's part of the fantasy there for me.
Oh, you can have fun with that. That sounds like a fun game, like a high charisma, like cowboy build or something. Yeah. Like your Doc Holliday.
Yeah, kind of something like that, or
maybe minus the tuberculosis, but there's worse things in the wasteland now.
Yeah, well, like, and if I want tuberculosis, I'll just go play Red Dead 2. Major spoiler.
That's okay. I wasn't planning on playing Red Dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, your character gets tuberculosis partway through the game, and that becomes a major plot because
immersive
it's watching. Yeah, it's watching a man. What's the word I'm looking for? Watching a man who's trying to do what's right, but having lived a bad life, and now that he's trying to make up for it, he's suddenly dying.
Unfortunate.
But yeah, really compelling drama and a lot of violence to boot.
I don't know. I never really played I did try Red Dead 1, and I got pretty bored with it, but, I mean, the stories sound interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, the way that they build the games, I was like, you guys are better off just making, like, a movie or something, you know? At least that's my point of view. I'm sure there's people that like Red Dead. Not my thing.
Oh, that's fair. It's kind of like how one of my best friends, he really doesn't like Far Cry games, and I get why, but I actually do really like them.
Blood Dragon was pretty
like,
fun.
Yes. In the distant future of 2007.
The bows and arrows have LEDs.
Yeah.
I was so much fun in that game, just like sneaking around shooting people with like glowing bows and arrows.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play it again, actually. Of course, Ubisoft makes it kind of difficult with their, like, oh, you got to use our startups or, like, starting software for it. It's like, I don't want to use Ubisoft. I'm afraid what it's going to give my computer. It's going to start turning things into French.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just like we have controlled your computer.
There is a darkness coming, and that darkness is the French. Dun,
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 dun.
dun, dun.
Oh my god, it's like Kung Pao.
These evil council, they are
They're
aliens.
They're French smelly bomb pits and all. God, I love that movie.
Yeah,
I'm
old Atari games, very simple.
Yeah.
The graphics were...
Some more than others. Like the Pac-Man port looks so terrible when you compare it to like the arcade version. Which, granted, back at the time, that probably also had to do with the processing power and everything in terms of what you could cram into a game home console.
Oh yeah, well, like we landed on the moon with the amount of RAM and hard drive space that was on a Nintendo 64.
Isn't that crazy to think about? Like
yeah.
The smartphones in our pocket have more processing power than that. Like, imagine if we utilize that kind of stuff, what we could do.
Yeah.
Instead, we're teaching AI to make poorly done drawings with awful looking hands.
This is true.
I'm not really worried about AIs replacing humans, because you look at AI art and it's just like, you can tell when it's an AI art. Granted, that could change, but I see posts a lot where people are like concerned about AI, and I mean, I get it. I'm a little bit nervous about it too, but at the same time, I look at it like this: there's always going to be people that want art, but done by artists.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing there is a lot of the concern about AI art, or about AI anything, I think, is failing to account for what will actually go right and what will actually go wrong with it.
Yeah.
What will go right with it and what will go wrong with it is exactly what went right and wrong with the internet, which is to say, there will be something new, and we will be idiots about how we use it.
I think it just all boils down to it's different. I don't like it a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
People just afraid of what they don't know. Like, for example, the thing the other day where it's like people were freaking out because of the simulation of the drone that terminated its controller, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But it's like, that is such a like that. I feel like that was blown out of such proportion of shit. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. No,
without getting too into the weeds on it, it's just people don't understand how this stuff works. You know, I mean, everyone likes to claim that art AI is AI, but it's not. It's just an algorithm that samples shit. You know, we don't have true AI right now. And if we did, holy shit, we would know it. But
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and to top that off, there's also like, just I've been messing with ChatGPT a lot lately, and it's a useful tool in its own right. But you can still see where it isn't really conscious in any way.
Yeah. there's just like a certain that I honestly, it's the human factor. Like that's just what makes art and creativity. What makes it so appealing to us. You can get a pretty picture through an AI machine, but you can tell like it's just it's just mix and match. For people with the eye that we have, I think we can really see how it mixes and matches versus someone that's like, oh, that's such a cool picture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use this for my metal album cover and put a terrible logo on the front.
The funny thing you should say that. No, I needed an album cover for the first song we put up for Ab Sings, and I just AI generated it because I was being lazy.
Well, that's fair. It's for the abs. I mean, we get curse shit from that from time to time. Like Maestro in the Traveler game that we did. He was doing AI art of my character, and some of the ones that he got looked like something that was out of H.P. Lovecraft. It was horrifying. Just like this, like, tortured face with a bowl of soup.
Yeah. Oh. When you accidentally press a button and discover a new hotkey.
Oh, yeah, I like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Other times I accidentally knock something over my keyboard, I'm like, what did I just do?
I will be right back. I have to make a bio break.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this is, I believe this is page 3 that I'm working on of what I want to say is going to be 12, 14 pages for this comic. I'm not quite sure yet. Depends on how things go with drawing. I'm kind of winging it a bit because we don't necessarily have a script for this one. But I do have ideas for other comics that are probably going to be more involved in that, which is a longer project, but do every little bit at a time that I can for it, It helps to juggle between projects versus sticking to one, which is easy to... Not the easiest thing for me to say, considering I have OCD, but, gotta change gears sometimes, help to refocus your thoughts. And sometimes you might come back to something, and have a idea for it. I'm not sure how accurately these line up panel to panel, but at a certain point, I don't care. The thing is, you think something is simple to draw when you look at it and you see the shapes of it, and it's like, oh, that could do that, and then you sit down for it, and then suddenly you realize it takes a lot more effort than you think it does. Case in point, I'm kind of surprised how long this page is taking, but I'm also trying to cram a lot of detail into a small space. apologize if I'm a little quiet. I'm just kind of focusing in on things. Drawing is one of those things that can really put me into a headspace, you know? In a zone, as it were. It's one of those things that I only realized about drawing until much later, is that it helps to rotate the page around when you're doing stuff. Not even just like digitally, but also traditionally.
Hey, well, Storm Song returns.
Ah, hello. I was about to call the fire department in case you fell in.
No, but yes.
I do wonder if there's... I feel like there's absolutely been a fire call where someone's been, like, stuck to their toilet.
Oh, yeah, and stuff like that. I'll just say I have a friend who's a fire department paramedic, and he's told me stories.
Oh, I do not doubt that. My dad's a volunteer firefighter, so I'm sure if I asked him for some stories... I mean, he's told me some stuff. The one that sticks out in my memory is the... Oh, man. We used to have this lady on our block who... She was someone that had dementia or something, but the thing about her was she would always be out in her front yard in her pajamas. Didn't matter what time of day it was. Just talking to whoever, just to the ether, just yelling stuff. Sometimes ringing a cowbell. But the one time my dad with the fire department, they got a fire call to her place where she said she had fallen. So they go over there and they bust the door down with a fire axe, and they go inside, and she's just sitting there with blankets by the phone saying the witch is an alien that took her hostage. Obviously someone that was very unwell, but at the same time it's just like, man, that's not a call you get every day, is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I kind of wish I knew some cops so I could get some fun cop stories, but...
Mm.
I think I asked Depp once on a stream about the weirdest call that he got, and I think they pulled someone over who was, like, driving erratically, and the guy was like, oh, I'm looking for the mothership.
Yeah. No, I actually got pulled over on one occasion while Uber driving, because I had a customer who had the window open and was like yelling out the window at people. And I'll be honest, I shouldn't have been driving at that point because I was tired.
Yeah.
but got to make that day, that dollar kind of thing.
Oh
and and my best hours, for money was driving the drunks home at night. And so, this cop pulls me over, and sees like I'm an Uber driver, and I will say cops do actually give you a little bit of, we'll call it deference, because they're like, okay, you're keeping drunks off the road. Like, this is actually a good thing.
Yeah,
But
they're not
then,
going to bust you too hard unless you're doing something, like, awful. Like, who knows?
But yeah, like, I come across to everyone I meet as way younger than I actually am. And so, like, I got this, like, I'm sitting here, a 33-year-old man at the time, getting this, like, now, boy, you could get in a lot of trouble for this kind of thing, because what he's doing back there is considered harassment, and that's your vehicle it's coming from. And I'm, like, getting this fatherly lecture kind of thing from him, and I'm like, yes, sir, yes, I understand. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Because, genuinely, he was being a good guy.
No, you just roll with it in that case. And it's like, as long as you're respectful to the, if you're getting pulled over, and you're not doing something too, like, going too fast or whatever, genuinely, they'll, like, try to be more lenient with you. Like, I remember one time I accidentally went through a stop sign, like or it wasn't even that I went through a stop sign, it was like a rolling stop. Because I was, like, on the way from home from something. I was tired. I just wanted to get home. And I got pulled over. And I was just, like, as polite as I could be with the cop. Like, yes, sir, no, sir. Just, like, I apologize. I just, whatever. And he just let me off the warning. It's... Because generally, like, I feel like most cops probably are just, like, just trying to do their job and just generally just don't want to be a dick to people. It's just, like, sometimes people will make it their problem.
Oh, yeah. It's the way of any industry. So Pistol asks us, what is this comic about?
Oh, it's actually based off of a home movie that a friend of mine made when he was a kid. For context, the friend of mine that I'm doing this with, he's actually kind of the reason that I'm doing a lot of the comic stuff I am right now, because I had, like, recently graduated college, and turns out there was, like, a local Comic-Con in my area, and my mom suggested I go because I've just, been doing all this drawing and stuff. So I went there with my sketchbook, and I ran into him there. And I remembered him from high school. We weren't really, like, people that were close. Like, we were classes apart, but I knew the guy. And I was just, like, showing him my artwork, and then one thing led to another, and he brought me on board for this. But the comic itself, it's like a superhero, like, B-movie kind of deal, where it's this B team of superheroes ends up running into and having to stop a scientist who turned himself into a bug monster through a radioactive cockroach that got into a sandwich. But
So classic Silver Age.
Oh yeah, this is very much like, when I say B movie, I mean that kind of the good shit, as I call it, because I love those kinds of movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
but that's why I've been loving Neff for the martial arts films he's been showing on Fridays.
Oh, right on. We watch some... Oh, man, we find all these, like, crazy horror movies just, like, on Amazon and stuff. My fiancé and I, like, the one that we watched was Planet of the Vampires, which I think was an Italian movie.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you know that one, yeah.
My guitarist is a collector of such insanities.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we just find, like... Oh, it's so funny, the horror movie convention we went to a couple months ago. We were, like, going through, and they had, like, a whole thing of those kinds of movies. A lot of canon films in there. And I sent a few of them to text, and he was laughing at them. Like, the one that I found was really great was Road Lawyers.
Oh, God.
Like, post-apocalyptic lawyers. It's so funny. Because the guy is, like, on the cover, he's wearing, like, hockey pads and stuff with a suitcase, but he looks like Weird Al. It's like...
Yep. Totally the style.
I love that kind of stuff. Just... I think that's a problem with a lot of horror movies these days. They take themselves way too seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Well, it's this problem in Hollywood of everyone wants to be an artiste and forgets that comedy is an art.
I know.
As is cringe, as is, cheese and schlock. Like, there's a reason for those kind of movies.
Yeah. I have a hard
Like,
time with cringe, but
well, yes,
just me.
and yeah, but then at some point, like my friends and I went when it first came out to see Napoleon Dynamite, and we spent the first third to half of the movie, each of us just being like, and then at some point, all of us just kind of broke a little bit. And by the halfway point of the movie, everyone was howling laughing because it was just so fucking awkward.
That movie it very much has like that awkward vibe to it. Just
Yeah.
so much weird shit in it. It was like, I mean, it's kind of like Juno, but then Juno's just like gets a bit more serious, I guess.
Well, yeah, Juno is more quirky because
Lol, I'm pregnant.
there's a degree of real life quirkiness to it, but it's dealing with like a real thing.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also,
I will be right back.
yes. Also, you should all watch Juno, J.K. Simmons as the world's best dad. Like he said, he'll be right back, so I'm just going to talk trash about him while he's not listening. We all know
I returned.
that I didn't say anything.
Oh.
And you can't prove otherwise.
Definitely not. It's not like this is being recorded or anything.
Yeah.
Watergate.
Oh god!
Watergate in a nutshell. It's like, I didn't say anything, you can't prove anything otherwise. We have recordings. Fuck.
Yep.
I would love to, like...
Spicy.
No, I was just about to say, I would love to make, like, movies based on historical stuff like that, but just make it, like, the dumbest version of it. Like,
Oh, I mean, I think that was the appeal of the Dr. Christmas thing.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Just, like, history stuff like that where it's just... Or like the, when Johnny Knoxville made that movie about Action Park. I didn't see it, but that was actually based off a real park, which is just crazy to think about. There's that famous picture of the slide with a loop in it.
Yeah. Well, and it's that thing that, like, history is often more of a black comedy than we like to give credit for.
Yeah. Yeah. Good example of that being the movie The Death of Stalin. If you haven't seen that movie, it's great.
Death of Stalin's an amazing movie.
I love Steve Buscemi in that. It's so funny. It's like he's Khrushchev.
Yep. No, one of my favorite little tidbits of historical idiocy is what we'll call it, is a lot of people forget that a major defining thing about the 13th century, i.e. the kind of mid to late medieval age, I say that like it's a common thing to talk about.
Yes, I think about it every day.
Yeah, but no, it's the time period where a lot of our famous characters come from. So Philip II of France, Richard the Lionheart, and subsequently King John, i.e. of Robin Hood fame.
The Habsburgs.
Saladin.
Although
no, the Habsburgs are not for some time. At that time,
Thank
it would
God.
have been. At that time, it would have been Barbarossa. Genghis Khan comes out of that time period.
Oh, the fun times.
So yeah, like the truly medieval age. It's the Second and Third Crusade. It's what we think of when we say medieval. Well, there was a rather funny moment where the Crusaders had an embassy with the recently arrived Mongols, and Frederick II Barbarossa of Germany, well, the Holy Roman Empire, wasn't really Germany yet. His translators accidentally mistranslated. They were told that, well, what they thought they were told was that for 500,000 pounds of gold, the Mongols would fight for the Germans in the Crusades.
Oh.
What they translated it as was, what it actually was 500 pounds of gold. For 500 pounds of gold, Barbarossa and Richard the Lionheart could have had Genghis Khan and his men, well, not Genghis Khan himself, the Mongols and their men rampage through Saladin's forces.
Holy shit. That's one of those things in history, it's like, wonder what that would have been like if it was a bit different.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's like,
I
think one of my favorite ones is the part of the reason that Constantinople fell was because somebody forgot to lock a door.
Oh.
Yeah, because
was Constantinople.
Oh, that song.
Let's see. We had a pistol. Oh, he sent me a thing. What am I looking at?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he sent it to me.
Yes. This is his bold comic he's been working on, or not bold comic, bold novel thing.
I think it's a
It's
comic.
more of a novel. It's half novel, half comic. There's pictures. That's the point. It's pretty pictures.
Oh yeah. He did post those. I did see some of that.
Yes. Yeah. Then I'm working
Looks
on my
very
own
nice.
thing as well, which is space opera about knights with battle mechs.
Ah,
The
yes.
idea of going into a battle mech and having, a battle mage in a battle mech going into battle for space battle-y reasons.
Yo, dog, I heard you like battles.
Yeah, yeah. I should just call it battle time.
I will draw you First Lord Exhibit.
Yes.
I still want to draw some mechs for that because I love the idea of neo-feudalism with giant robots, BattleTech.
Yep. I will
But
definitely be
you're
playing you for that.
Right on. I definitely want to go more like the knightly direction with the mechs because that's pretty fun. Although not as, oh god, I'm just thinking of the Imperial Knights from 40K. I don't like the Titans from 40K. They're just so
yeah.
Yeah.
They're so bulky and silly looking.
Yeah, it's just too much. Which I mean, that's just basically my problem with 40K in general. It's too much for how silly it is, for how serious they're taking it. It's like, give me over the top giant robots and just like some heavy metal shit, or give me like serious story. Don't try to mix both.
Yeah.
You could have serious bits, but just like make it like black humor or black comedy or dark comedy. However you want to say it. But yeah, I don't want to go into the rabbit hole of 40K because then I'll get into the rabbit hole of Star Wars, and we'll just be here for hours, and I'll start getting charts and screaming.
Yep. I like that description. And then I'll just start getting charts and screaming.
Yeah, just cuts. It's like that. Just cuts to it's like the scene from that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Charlie's got the vision, the string board set up for Pepe Sylvia.
Yep.
Oh god, that reminds me. For the podcast, we've been meaning to revisit the prequels and kind of talk about how they could be done better. But that involves watching them again, and I don't want to do that. Well, let me specify. I've seen all of them, but Rise of Skywalker, because that is, like, I refuse. Rise of Skywalker I just refuse to see out of principle. It's so...
Also, you said prequels by accident, so I was confused.
Oh, I meant sequels. God.
Yeah.
I think the sequels are just... Or the prequels are just fine. I know they're memey at points, but it's just like, it's Star Wars, man. It's supposed to be kind of fun like that.
Yeah. With regards to what you were saying about the Titans from Warhammer, one of the sort of ideas with this setting, with my setting, Shattered Throne, is that...
I like the name.
Thank you. The rule 1 in my writing Bible for this is it must be metal.
I'm already on board.
Yeah. But one of the ideas is that you actually have different kinds of mechs, and not just different, like, in the sense of, builds or whatever, or models, but in the sense of, like, knights. There's a class of mech called a knight, and those are the mechs that, like, more fully, truly simulate exact human body motions.
Oh, okay.
And
so you could have, like, it's kind of like what Armored Core does, where they have, like, the regular walkers and stuff, but then they also have, like, the mechs themselves.
Yeah, and then, like, you have still humanoid, but less, like, articulated mechs called men-at-arms. And then you have mechs that are basically like a gun with legs called a yeoman.
Ooh, I like that.
Or like the mechs that are less like they're more vehicle than suit.
Yeah, gotcha. Just like a mini mech almost. Oh, I like that. It's cool how you kind of vary things a bit.
And it was again, the setting was one of those things where I was like, one of my friends was like, maybe we should do a Warhammer 40k campaign sometime. I'm like, I might think about doing that, although I think I'd make this change and this change as well. And he's like, yeah, house rules are fine. And I walk off mumbling, and maybe change that as well. And then 3 weeks
That's how
later,
it always goes.
3 weeks later, they find me in my room with all the red strings leading between pictures. My hair is a mess.
Yeah.
One of them's like,
you haven't shaved for several days.
Is this for the 40k campaign? What's 40k? I go down the hole.
Yeah, you've just got like empty coffee cups everywhere. Just like an ashtray like packed up full the brim of cigarettes, even though you don't smoke. Just
no, I've been burning them for the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's like incense. You just have them burning the whole time. Oh man, I remember the one time. Speaking of cigarette ash, the one time I was at my brother's place in Millersville, where he went to college, and we were like staying over at his place that night, and one of his friends was over, and I like woke up the next morning because I had heard like music blaring all night outside because they were hanging out out there, and I go outside and his one friend's like passed out in a chair with a cigarette in his. I think it was in his mouth or in his hand, but it is like completely ash. Like it burned from end to end, just in his hand. Like he had fallen asleep in the chair like that. And it was just like, man, you were gonna have a rough morning.
I love that shit. I do miss college parties to some degree. Like
yeah.
I wouldn't do them now because like, oh god, the headache would be terrible. I don't have the body for that anymore. But
not only that, but just like I like being able to sleep in my own bed.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's like
I love my bed.
Oh, me too. Actually, we've had a pillow fort set up in the living room for like the past week, which has been pretty fun.
Yay. I assume we is you and your lovely lady type.
Yes, we set up a like fun little pillow fort. With a canopy that our cat likes to knock over on top of us when we're in there.
Yay!
Well, she's done it to it's done it to her, or she's done it to my fiance. Because I've been in chat and I just hear her calling from the other room. I just go out there and she's just like under blankets, like help.
Yes, that is the sign of a good kitty. It knows when to mischief.
Oh, she is very mischievous. God, she woke me up this morning because she was sprinting around the apartment.
Ah, she had the zoomies.
Peak goblin. Oh yeah, peak goblin mode, peak zoomies. I'm just. Thankfully, I was like pretty much like awake by this point, but I'm just laying there in bed, just trying to get the energy up to go make coffee, and she's doing that. I'm like, why are you like this early in the morning? Get a job.
Yes. That do be how pets do.
It is. She's a strange one. Also, for some reason, cats really like to drink out of the toilet, so you gotta make sure the lids are closed.
Yeah. We've found that to be the case with our dog, Mr. Gibbs.
Oh, dogs especially. That I'm not surprised by.
Yes.
Man, I am so happy for air conditioning. It is so hot out today. I don't know where it's at your neck of the woods, but it's like in the 90s right now.
It's in the 80s here in Colorado.
Oh, that's right. You're in that good old mountain air.
Yep. Well, at the moment we're getting our weird 10-year, which is every 10 years or so, our spring will go from kind of dry with a couple of rains throughout the spring to just a fucking monsoon for about a month and a half, and then it won't do it again for another 10 years.
Weird. It's like an El Nino.
Yeah,
That's
it's part of that. I've heard the explanation before, and it has to do with living at the foot of a mountain.
yeah, Colorado's fun like that.
Yep.
I'm just thinking of Wasteland 3, which takes place in Colorado, and it's just like eternal snow there.
Yep.
So I'm just imagining like Colorado is that now.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we don't actually get a lot of snow because we get cold, and we do get snow from time to time, but because of how dry it is, obviously.
Yeah, with the mountain elevation, I would imagine.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, we just don't get a lot of snow. But yeah, it's kind of funny because then you see, like, any movie that portrays Colorado.
It's always snowing.
It's always snowing. The mountains are huge. It's like these Alberta-style forests. And it's like,
Probably because it was filmed
forests.
in Alberta.
Yeah, we have big forests, but they're usually, like, they're kind of more like dry pine kind of sort of things.
Yeah, like evergreen type stuff.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, here it's like, honestly, most of the state here, it's like, it just looks, it's just corn. It's just fields and fields of shit.
Yep. You're in Iowa or
Pennsylvania. Or as my state, part of the state is sometimes affectionately known, Pennsyltucky.
Ah.
Yeah. It's like we got Pittsburgh on one side, we got Philly on the other, and then in between is just like Pennsyltucky. It's basically, it's kind of accurate. I mean,
in that it's just kind of all Farmville, or
yeah, there's a lot of farms, a lot of countryside. Honestly, a lot of it's really nice. You know, that's the one thing I really like about living here. It's depending on where you go, you've got a lot of forests. Like if you're driving up north of the state, like up towards New York area, like it is such a beautiful drive. Like I would do that every year with college. I would drive like 2 hours up north to where I was going, and it was very nice.
Yeah.
Until you get to the coal regions, and then it's just depressing because it's like, welcome to our coal town. It is fucking miserable here.
Yeah.
There's a town I remember going through as a kid when my sister played basketball for our school called Shamokin, and it was probably the most depressing town I've ever seen. And I was like, oh god, I was maybe in like 2nd or 3rd grade at the time, and even then I was like, man, this place looks awful.
Yep.
Just like
total bum out.
Yeah. Like that's that song Foggy Old Town. That could easily fit with this, except it's not so much fog as coal does.
Oh god, yeah, that'd be horrible. I actually probably literally could not live there because of my asthma, so
I don't think it was, I'm just joking about that, but it was very cluttered housing, all on hills. It was just so overcast there. Everything looked like from the 70s or 80s in terms of how old it was.
Oh yeah. Well, like, and living in Colorado, of course, like, once you get outside of the Springs or Denver or Pueblo, then towns shrink considerably in size, and most of it is very much these little, like, 500-person towns, and most of them are actually quite pleasant. But there is just sort of like this knowledge of, like, there's no one here for several miles.
Yeah, the thing about PA is we still have, like, we still have decently sized cities outside of Pittsburgh and Philly.
Yeah.
The one that's there's one that I don't live too far away, which I don't know if I want to give specific locations, but it's a city that's a pretty decent size, but it's not too big, and there's still plenty to do there. We actually went to see one of my favorite bands in concert there not too long ago, but it's big enough where the traffic sucks. I can tell you that much.
Yep. It's always weird as I'm working on this, piece for my setting here while you're working on that, and it's like, that looks so appropriate for, a science fiction piece. It's probably crap. Just looking at this, tactical gear that comes up online.
Oh, yeah, just like the mall ninja shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I see a lot of, I see a lot of it nowadays where it's like I'll see like this fancy looking armor inspired by Star Wars. I'm like, oh, it's for airsoft, but you can buy it like now, and it just disappoints me because it just like just give me some power armor, man. I just want power armor to be real. I want a suit of power armor so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's the one thing I will give credit to Fallout for that they got right was they got the feel of what the power armor in Fallout should be. Like perfect. Other than the fact that you like had to plug in a Duracell battery to your fucking suit every like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better if they just made the armor rarer in the game and gave it the maintenance requirement upkeep to some degree, but at the same time just get rid of that part because that was just so irritating.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not a game designer, and I also don't want to think about Bethesda, so...
And that's fair.
Todd Howard, he haunts my dreams.
It just works.
Just... I like the idea of, like, cutting a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street, where, like, you just see, like... You see Freddy chasing after him, but you don't, like, see his face, like one of those kinds of scenes. And then when it shows him, it's just, like, Todd Howard, like, superimposed. It's like, it just works.
Yep.
And then, and meanwhile, while the person's running, you just, like, have Skyrim NPCs, like, sprinting into walls and shit.
Yeah. Now, like, I'm not gonna
Or, Wait, before you say that, I had a... Yeah, it's like, he corners him as Todd Howard, he kills him, and then it's just like... Hey, you, finally awake. They must have caught you trying to go across the board.
Yeah, no, I'm not inclined to actually rag on Todd Howard too much, because, like, I know a lot of those decisions aren't really his.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's the face, and, like, he did a lot of really, you know, good development stuff and led some really good teams, but yeah, it's just... Bethesda itself is such a shite company, and unfortunately, he's the face of it.
And that's the thing that, I mean, I have to remind myself that too, especially about something like Star Wars with Kathleen Kennedy. As bad as she might be, there's so many people behind her that are helping to make those decisions, where it's
or
like...
even, yeah, not just helping, but driving on.
Yeah. Unless you're J.K. Rowling, then that's all on you. Like, I will not give her any sympathy for the grave she has dug herself.
You see, I actually will, and I know I'm kind of, like, standing on an odd eggshell here, because the woman's actually done quite a bit for charity, like, helping dishoused families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's also why I kind of really do believe in not entering politics as an artist.
I also agree with that.
Because
I mean,
I would rather be remembered as, you know, J.K. Rowling, the one who wrote Harry Potter, and not J.K. Rowling, the one who fell afoul of this political movement or that.
If you're going to get into issues that you feel strongly about, like, try to find a way to put it into your work that's like a more constructive way than just rather than going to Twitter and being like, this is how wizards don't poop. Like,
yeah, that was I chalk that up to boomerism of, like, her not realizing it's like everyone's gonna see this. I feel like that was just imposed on her part, and like, because every human has the
appropriate choice of words.
Well, yeah, there you go. Because every human has the instinct to shitpost at some point. It's where the dad joke comes from.
I think, therefore, I shitpost.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you know, not everyone's ready for the ramifications of a shitpost.
Yeah, especially depending on the subject matter.
Yeah. And so then, like, you know, she makes something about, like, all the Harry Potter weird extended lore that she created. And it's just, like, not a great look.
No. And, yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I really try to stay out of social media. The only one I still really use is Instagram, and that's more so I can promote my artwork and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, which if people actually have Instagram and do want to follow me, I can link that, or at least give the name for it. It is. Let me double check here because I did change things a little bit. I'm also goofy like that. Yes, it's Art House Kraut spelled Art Haus period Kraut. If people want to find me on Instagram, I tend to try and post there at least once a week. I would do more, but I have a day job, and some days I'm just like fuck it. So, but if you want to see some of my stuff, and it also has a link to my Etsy if people actually want to buy some prints of my work. Not to shill or anything, but I like having some extra money.
Oh, shill by all means.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a place for us to like learn how to do the cool stuff.
Yeah. I honestly I do want to start plugging myself more, but I need to like update some things like my website for one, which honestly is probably going to end up just. I mean, it's got my last name in the name, so that's going to be interesting to deal with. But yeah.
I mean, as somebody who my stuff is public too, like I work at a studio, so
I guess like, part of it is like I just get paranoid about stuff sometimes, you know.
Well, fortunately, most of the time you're not going to have to deal with that person, and if you do, it's actually pretty easy to deal with them, all things said and done. But unfortunately, if you're someone like, say, well, we'll just use, something close to home, someone like Tex, you're going to have a community in which lots of that kind of person can hide. It's also a problem for, let's say, you're someone even bigger like Markiplier.
Yeah.
Where you will just constantly be exposed to that.
I mean, I remember the, was it Gavin from Slow Mo Guys? Like, they had a home break-in because a fan broke into their place. Like, him and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm not saying I'm, like, worried about that kind of shit happening. It's just, like, I guess I'm just more, like, kind of nervous to put my own name out there,
Oh, yeah, no, it makes sense. Because there's always all the what-ifs and the...
Yeah, oh, isn't that the fun thing about OCD? It's the what-if disease.
Yep. Or as I've come to describe it, imagine if Wikipedia was up, but every word on the page was a separate hyperlink and all of them went off at once.
That is a very good way to describe it, actually.
Yes. There's a lot of people think of, like, the popular TV OCD, which is,
just
does
the cleanliness aspect.
Those are more like a secondary effect caused by the main effect.
The main effect
is that we obsess.
Yes, it's something triggers your obsession in one way or another. Can really depend on depend what it is. For me, ever since I was a kid, and this is another reason I'm glad that we don't talk politics, is because geopolitical stuff really would get on my mind about things. Do you remember when SARS was a thing? Like, that terrified me as a kid.
SARS?
SARS, like the
SARS virus.
Yeah. No, not the stars. I love stars. That's no moon. But yeah, stuff like that. Just big things that are beyond my control. Like, that's kind of where my OCD can go to. Last year was really fun for that, but I'm not getting into that subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stuff like that, and it really depends. And also, there's a lot of it too where it's really being emotionally or like hyper empathetic in a sense, where it's just like if I hurt someone's feelings, I genuinely just beat myself up probably more than that person actually cares about the thing that I said to them,
Oh, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like, or if I, like, make a bad joke or something and it hurts someone's feelings, like, I genuinely feel absolutely terrible about it. Like, even if it's someone that I don't really know, too, like, and unless the person has done something to actually, like, upset me, like, I don't know, whatever. Usually it has to do with people on the road. But, yeah, just... I generally just want to be like just a nice person to people, and when something like that happens, just like I feel terrible about it,
Yeah. No, I get it. It's
Welcome to the Psychology Hour.
Yes.
Yes, it seems here that you want to have sex with your mother.
Ah, damn it. Everyone keeps saying that, and I don't know why.
Get out of here, Freud! You just gotta chase Freud away with the broom sometimes. It happens.
That's a great image.
Okay, I kind of want to make a like if I ever made a like animated show somehow, like if I make buku bucks and learn how to animate actually, I want to put that in there as a thing where it's just like Freud's hiding in the corner just waiting to be like, yes, you want to have sex with your mother. It's like, God damn it, Freud, not today. Got too much shit going on. He's like hiding in a house plant or some shit, or like you sit down on something and it turns out it's a leather couch secretly. Just like, fuck.
So when did you start hearing these voices?
God damn it. Oh man, I just thought of the Doctor from Reanimator too. God, that's a fun movie.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen that one in a good long while.
Gotta inject him with the Mountain Dew. It's what it looks like. It's just like this glowing green shit, and it's just like, well, that's straight 90s. Like, definitely something you would see at... Oh, man. There's a laser tag place around here that's a lot of, like, that kind of glowing green, and I love it. But...
What did I call it? The age of Nickelodeon slime?
Yes! Oh, that's such a great way to describe it. Like, the slime era.
Yep.
It was a pair of slime shift.
Yes. Yes.
God, I miss like old school Nickelodeon, like late 90s, early 2000s. That was the good stuff. Like SpongeBob, I think that was 99 when SpongeBob came out, wasn't it? I want to say.
It was somewhere around there. Because I remember we were in middle school and we were like, "Oh, that's a kid show. We're too old for that shit." And then we watch it and we're like, "This is hilarious."
Oh yeah. You're not too much older than me, I think. Maybe
no,
well, okay, maybe
36.
Like,
I'm 36.
Okay.
Around 37.
Yeah,
so
I'm 30, so you are a bit older, but not to make you feel old.
But I mean, you were in elementary school when I was in middle school, and truthfully, those aren't as different as people think.
They really aren't. You're just as dumb in elementary school as you are in middle school. The only difference is this is like you think you're smarter, but you're still doing things like throwing firecrackers at each other.
This is true.
Yeah. It's like I still remember when they had Ren and Stimpy on TV. Vaguely remember that being. I was so little too. I bet you that subliminally informed a lot about things. Just now that I think about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's that has shaped a whole generation, not just of people, but of other cartoons that shaped a generation.
Oh yeah.
So that shaped the shapers.
Yeah, there's so many cartoons where it's like you can definitely tell they got some inspiration. Even subtle things like I want to say Adventure Time got a lot of that too. Adventure Time was such a good show too. I didn't see all of it, but Yeah, I would say Adventure Time is third generation. I think it was influenced by Invader Zim and the like. Yeah, oh yeah, Invader Zim definitely gives me Ren and Stimpy vibes in a lot of things. Invader Zim, I think, was heavily inspired by Ren and Stimpy. I mean, that would explain the bologna episode. Oh God! The meats of evil. I think it was Vulcan. Oh, full of organs. Oh God, that episode too. The Ice Queen. Vulcan posted the gif of the moose from the wormhole. Just it's a room with a moose just chewing there ominously. Which honestly, that'd be a fate worse than death, is to be stuck in the moose room. Yes. I've hit a deer with my car. I don't want to have to deal with hitting a moose. That would actually be I would be terrified. I've had to deal with a buck trying to challenge me. Oh, that's... And A, no, and B, I have a car, dude. Please don't make this a thing. Yeah.
And so then, I stopped and waited. The car behind me was honking until they realized what was going on, and then they sort of waited. And then the buck charged at my car, broke a piece of its antler, and then ran off.
Oh, man.
And I'm like,
wow.
I guess I win? And
the,
then I
the only animal...
like, my paint job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, I had worse than that when I dealt with a deer. I was driving to work the one morning, and a bunch of them ran across the road. And I stopped for those ones, but... Or no, it wasn't even... I think it was just like one that ran across, and I stopped for that one. But I forgot the rule when it comes to deer. It's like there's always more. And as I'm like starting to drive away, one just collides right with the side of my door and just completely fucks it. Like the mirror's just destroyed. It runs off. Turns out it dies in the neighbor's yard. And I wish I would have known that because I just wanted to go over and kick it. Like, you fucked up my car, you piece of shit.
Yep.
I also wanted to like... Because my dad came to like help me out. Because like, hey Dad, I had a fun morning already. I was like, you think we could take this to a butcher right now? Because I want some deer jerky. We unfortunately did not, which makes me sad because it was like, I mean, I technically I hit it. Does that mean that I get to keep it? Like, what else are you gonna do with it?
Yep. That's one of those.
Oh, speaking of animal challengings, the only time I was challenged by an animal was there was a goose that tried to challenge my car walking across the road.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, really, dude? I could run you over right now if I really wanted to.
Yep. But they don't understand because they are silly animal people.
They are gooses. Honestly, swans are more terrifying.
Oh, yes. No,
swans are absolutely terrifying. I want to see like a remake. I want to see a movie of like the birds, but it's just swans. Like that would be a hell of a horror movie.
Yeah. Also, when looking for a frame of reference for how to do a posture and so forth, I will say that my platonic ideal for a good muscular arm is Scar from Full Metal Alchemist.
I'm trying to remember what his looked like. I tend to...
Yeah, the whole thing there is he's muscular without looking like a bodybuilder or the standard anime twink. Oh,
so you're not talking like how to draw. It's just like proportions wise what you're thinking, or like body type. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely prefer like the less like those kinds of body styles versus the more exaggerated stuff. Depending on what the art is, honestly. I mean, like Bruce Timm does a lot of that exaggeration with his art, especially when you watch Batman. But
yeah.
That's really appealing because it's just like it's stylized in a certain way. But if we're going for a more realistic thing, I absolutely get that. Where you're just like, that's the one thing I remember. Like I was watching when I watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and like, was it Gohan and Goten fuse, or Goten and Trunks fuse? That's right. Yeah. It's like they're so ripped in that. I'm like, what the? Like even as a kid, I'm just like, why? How do you get abs like that? Then I get older, it's like, oh, it's not even realistic. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff can just get so ridiculous with it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, look at the Space Marines and their body builds and everything.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I am a meat man.
That's not even pretending to be realistic at that point. So, like, to give it some credit.
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
But yeah, and I say that begrudgingly because I'm not as big of a fan of Warhammer 40k as I used to be anymore.
I've always been sort of tangentially interested in 40k. I did actually get a box of Tau at one point, but I ended up trading it. Or I ended up selling it, and then I ended up getting War Machine, because it was a fun game at the time. But, yeah, it was just, like, always such a commitment with price and everything to get into. Even before it got just outrageous with the cost of everything. I mean, now I have, like, Battletech stuff, but I'm more just painting that than actually playing the game.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Snords Irregulars pack to come out so I can get that. Because they're like my favorite Merc unit, other than my original one that I made.
Yeah.
Man, I thought I was going to be farther with this, but I guess not. Oh well. Tends to happen when it comes to the line art. I tend to do my lines a little bit thicker than some people, I want to say. Or darker anyway.
Extra thick.
Extra thick!
Long ago in a foolish samurai warrior.
Oh my god, I forgot about that YouTube poop.
Foolish samurai warrior.
Unleashed an extra thick evil!
Extra thick.
Have you seen the mashup of that with the Gorillas Feel Good ink?
I haven't.
I need to find that and send that to you later because it's so funny.
That feels like a thing.
I feel like you'll enjoy that. I gotta find that. I want to say it's called Feel Thick Ink, but I'm not sure. If I ever open a pastry shop, I'm going to name it Feel Thick Ink.
Yeah.
Yes. My fiance is currently holding our cat in the doorway. Hello, Yogurt.
Your cat is named Yogurt.
Yes, she is.
That is forbidden. It's way too adorable.
Oh, she is quite adorable.